power without fear. So I'm going to wait a few minutes for people to tune in before I get started. And if you can let me know if the audio is fine, I would appreciate it. So I'm just going to wait a little bit before I go ahead and get started. Just bear with me. I will be getting started soon, so just bear with me a second. So if you all can bear with me, we will get started shortly. I want you all to let me know if you can hear the audio and if you can see me fine. Please let me know if everything's fine. Just put a 7 in the chat. I would appreciate it. I see a few people are tuning in. So if you can just throw a 7 in the chat to let me know that the audio is fine, I would appreciate it. So I'm just going to wait a little bit longer for people to tune in before I get started. So again, if you're tuning in, if you can hear me, please let me know how the audio is and how the video is. If everything is fine, put a 7 in the chat room. I would appreciate it. Okay, shout out to Never See Come See and David Bowman. Thank you for letting me know that everything is fine with that. So I will get started in a few minutes. I'm just waiting for a few more people to tune in. Thank you, Elena. I appreciate you letting me know that everything is fine. So tonight I'm just going to do a review of this year's news and also just talk about the future, talk about what we plan to do for this year. And I really want to hear from you all about this story. And if you're really interested in actually joining this live stream, I can, allow people to join in as long as I'm familiar with you. I'll be happy to have you join the discussion. So if you all can just hang tight for a few minutes, we'll get started shortly. So just hold on for a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope that you all had a great New Year. And I hope that you all had a happy Kwanzaa and a Merry Christmas. So today there's a wide range of different subjects that I want to talk about dealing with this election. Shout out to Elaine Lloyd. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you all can hear me well. So I want to talk about a wide range of stories. But before I get into that, what I want to do is just make an announcement. As many of you all know, I'm a visual artist. I paint and I draw. And I want to show you some of my pieces before we get started with this live stream tonight. And I want to let you all know that all of my artwork is for sale. I encourage you all to follow me on Instagram at the Osaka Gallery. And so what I'll do is I'll post that in the comments. I'll post the channel, the page in the comments so that you all can check it out. Just bear with me a second. All of my art is for sale on that page. So I encourage you all to just let me know if you're interested in my art. You can message me. You can email me at New Possibilities blog at yahoo.com. Again, that's New Possibilities blog at yahoo.com. So I've posted the name of my Instagram in the description box. I encourage you all to follow that page on Instagram if you're into art. And also, most of the art is for sale. Some of the pieces I have sold, so those pieces aren't available. But what I want to do real quick before I get into the content for this particular live stream is just show you a couple of pieces that I have that are for sale. This first piece is a painting of Malcolm X, a painting that I did of Malcolm X. This piece is for sale. And what I've been doing is taking bids. And right now, the starting price is $200 for this piece. As you can see, it's a nice size piece. This is something that I painted myself. You know, again, I'm a visual artist. I do paintings. So if you're interested in purchasing this painting, I encourage you all to email me at newpossibilitiesblog@yahoo.com. And you can also message me on Instagram. Again, my Instagram is the Osaka Gallery, and there's an underscore between each word. The Osaka Gallery, and Osaka is spelled Asaka. So that's the first painting, the painting of Malcolm X. The second painting that's up for sale is this painting of James Baldwin. This is a younger James Baldwin. You all can visit my Instagram page to see these paintings. So again, if you're interested in either one of them, feel free to email me at newpossibilitiesblog@yahoo.com to express an interest. And again, I encourage you all to like my Instagram page, the Osaka Gallery. And I plan to have an art exhibit this year in October. I think it's October the 9th. So I encourage you all to save that date. I'm going to make it possible for people to attend virtually as well as in person. So if you're interested, you can email me and I will provide you with the updated information about that exhibit. The exhibit will focus on police brutality. That will be the theme of it. It's going to be a powerful exhibit. Hopefully everything is fine. There is one piece that is available for you all to see. That's the very first piece dealing with this exhibit. And I think many of you may have seen it because I've posted it here on YouTube. It's a picture of a protest scene, and it has the images of many people that have lost their lives to police brutality. So again, I want to encourage you all to like that, to follow the Instagram page and to email me if you're interested in purchasing my art or interested in attending the art exhibit, which will be in October. So you all have plenty of time, plenty of notice. There are different options in person and virtual as well that I will make arrangements so that people can do that. So yeah, I want to thank you all for tuning in. So let's go ahead and get started. Like the first big story this year, as many of us know, is COVID-19. I mean, this has been a deadly pandemic. Many of us know people who've been affected, people who have been sick because of this virus, people who have even lost their lives. And, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives. Over 200,000 people have. The government's efforts to actually contain this virus. You know, Donald Trump didn't take this thing seriously. He downplayed it, even though he knew how serious the situation was. Even though he had all these reports from people telling him how deadly this potential virus is, how it spreads easily to people, this man failed to act. And he tried to loosen up restrictions at a time when this virus was taking out so many people. And right now there's a vaccine that's available. we don't know, like, I don't know much about the vaccine. You know, they're saying that it's effective, they're saying that it's safe, but I need to get more information about that. But that's the situation going on right now. Many of us have been working from home. Like I personally have been working from home from March. I've been working from home from March, and and many other people have. Many people have lost their jobs because of this virus, like people in service industries, for instance. Like I'm sure a lot of people that worked in restaurants, because early on, many restaurants were closed. And even today, I think they still have this ban in place, if I'm not mistaken, in Baltimore, where they're closing restaurants to indoor service. So that means a lot of people that are waitresses and waiters, they don't have work. They have lost, a lot of them have lost their jobs as a result of this virus. Many people are struggling on unemployment. Many people are in need of food assistance because of this pandemic. So this is a huge story. And this year, like Time Magazine, they decided to name Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the person of the year. But as far as I'm concerned, the person of the year should have been all of those frontline workers. All the policemen, the firemen, the EMS people, the waiters and waitresses, the people in the grocery stores and other stores that make it possible for us to eat and to live and all that kind of stuff, to purchase the things that we need, and also to keep us safe and to keep us healthy and everything. Those people, and the nurses and the doctors and all that kind of stuff, those people should have been, the person of the year. So that's a huge story. The COVID-19 is a big story. And then this is a year where we lost a lot of great people. A lot of great people. We lost MF Doom. As you all know, I just did a video about MF Doom. And many people may not even know about MF Doom, unfortunately. And I think that's a horrible thing, that a lot of people don't know about this man. And even worse is the fact that this man passed away in October, and the family didn't wait. They waited all the way until December, to the end of December, to let people know that this brother passed away. And nobody knew that this brother passed away. I mean, when I hear stuff like this, I just wonder, where were his friends? Like, I'm sure his friends had to have known. Like he had to have had some close friends that knew that he passed away. Like, why didn't they share this information with the public? Why are we hearing about this 2 months, way after it happened, like a month or so after it happened? That's just unacceptable. And then, it's just a shame, man. And then this brother, one thing that has to be pointed out is that this brother is a highly respected MC, a great lyricist, somebody with complex rhymes, as I was saying in my past video. This brother was innovative, very creative. He was not your run-of-the-mill MC. Like a lot of the MCs that you all hear about today, they all talk about the same thing: money, women. A lot of them talk about drugs and violence and all that kind of stuff. That's all they talk about. That's all they're focused on. Or you have the lyricists that are into politics and social consciousness, which is cool. But this brother just took hip hop to a whole nother level. He talked about things that other MCs didn't talk about. He had clever wordplay, a very humorous MC. He could make people laugh and stuff with his witty and clever rhymes. So this brother's loss, his death is a huge loss for the hip hop community. For those of us that love true hip hop, that love the underground hip hop, it's a huge loss. And it's just unfortunate. Like, you got all these people that are so quick to praise somebody when they're dead and stuff like that. But where were these people when his brother was living? You got people like the Breakfast Club, and I don't know if they ever had MF Doom on their program. I don't think that they had him on the program, because I know if he was on there, and correct me if I'm wrong, But I know that if he was on there, I would have known about it. Like somebody would have told me about it. I would have heard about it. Shout out to Cali guy. Thanks for your super chat donation. I appreciate that. Much respect to you. But yeah, I mean, here you had this brother. You know, you got these people that pretend like they care so much about you, pretend like, you know, your life had all this value and all this significance. But when you were alive, did they show you that kind of respect? Did they treat you like that? No. I mean, like with the Breakfast Club, they didn't even have his brother on. And please correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, this brother never appeared on the Breakfast Club. But yet they're like all shouting him out and acting like they're showing him love and stuff like that. That's that fake stuff, man. And then you have people, you know, a lot of people on YouTube, is the minute they hear about somebody dying, you know, they hop on and do a video, even though they don't even know nothing about the person. They just want to go with what's hot and what's trending. But this brother, MF Doom, is somebody that I listen to, like somebody that I know all his albums and stuff like that. He's somebody that I highly respect and stuff. And it's just a shame that he didn't get the kind of fame that he deserved while he was living. And hopefully he'll get it while he's passed on. You know, hopefully people will recognize his greatness. And that's often what happens. A lot of times great artists are not respected until after they have passed away. That's what usually happens, unfortunately. Like, I mean, even though, for instance, Basquiat, like, even though and I'm talking about all kinds of art, including visual arts. So even somebody like Basquiat, this brother, you know, he had some fame when he was alive. Like he did have some fame. Chat, I would appreciate it. I just want to make sure that you all can hear me before I continue. Just waiting. So if you can hear me, throw a 7 in the chat. I would appreciate it. All right, I'm going to assume that everything is fine. So you had that brother MF Doom that passed away. And then we heard about Chadwick Boseman. You know, that brother passed away as well in 2020. You know, a huge loss. The brother, I think he died from cancer, if I recall correctly. Okay, I see everybody can hear me fine. Okay, you know, the brother Chadwick Boseman died from cancer. And, you know, that brother played iconic roles. And it's just great that, you know, even though his life was very short, within that short lifespan, that brother had a huge impact. He played iconic figures such as Thurgood Marshall, such as Jackie Robinson, such as James Brown. And he's played other great roles. You know, one of the most significant roles that he played was his role as Black Panther. That role, even though like some people will say, oh, that's just a comic book character and all that kind of stuff, it's not that important and all that kind of stuff. The truth of the matter is this, man. Black Panther was a historic film in many ways. Like, first of all, here you had a all, for the most part, a predominantly black cast, a black superhero playing, a black man in the lead. A lot of times, something like that, he plays a second position. He's not the main star in the particular film, but in this film, you had a black man from Africa as a hero, and not only that, as a king. And that film, Black Panther, as you all know, promoted positive images of Africa. Africa as advanced, Africa as developed, Africans as excellent, as examples for other people and stuff like that. You know, and rarely do we have these kind of images of Africa. And I was just having a conversation not too long ago. Sometime, I think it was either today or yesterday. Um, I was talking about the images of Africa that I saw when I was a kid. How many of you remember those cartoons that depicted Africans as savages, Africans as cannibals, showing Africans putting people in boiling pots so that they can eat them and stuff. That's the kind of image they gave you of the African as a savage, the African with a bone in his nose and all that kind of stuff. That's the image that we had of Africa. And it's no wonder that many of us still hate Africa because of that early programming that taught us that Africa was uncivilized, that Africa was savage, that Africa was barbaric, and that Africa was poverty stricken and a place of war and famine, and that's it. That's the image that we had of Africa, and that's the reason why, again, ourselves Hebrew. We would rather call ourselves Moors. We would rather call ourselves, um, Native Americans, indigenous people. We would rather call ourselves Americans than Africans because we have been thoroughly brainwashed by the media that we have been programmed with, by the lies that they have told us about our history and stuff. So it's refreshing to see positive images of African people, and that's what that brother Chadwick Boseman presented in that film Black Panther. An image of black people as kings and queens, an image of black people as powerful, as intelligent, and strong images of black women. So I have to salute that brother. In his short period on this earth, that brother had a huge impact. And right before died, he played in the movie Ma Rainey's. I can't remember the full title, but it's Ma Rainey. It's on Netflix. I encourage you to see that film. It's available to anybody that has Netflix. His role in that film was powerful and compelling and just very disturbing. Uh, and we all know that like Viola Davis is a phenomenal actress, and she was the main star in the particular film. But this brother and his portrayal of that character, the way he acted in that role, even like outshined a veteran actress like Viola Davis. Um, so yeah, that's an excellent film, as Cali guy is saying. Um, so I encourage you all to check that out if you haven't seen that. So to Chad Boseman, may you rest in peace and power. Again, I send my condolences to his family, and the same is true for MF Doom. So if you can bear with me a second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that, everyone. But yeah, I encourage you all to check out Ma Rainey on Netflix. You know, the brother Chadwick Boseman did an excellent job, a phenomenal job. Another powerful person that we lost was Kobe Bryant. You know, at the beginning of the year, we lost that brother, man. You know, the famous basketball player with the Lakers, you know, one of the greatest of all times. That brother passed away. He died in a tragic helicopter accident. His daughter was in the helicopter with him, and she perished as well. A horrible story. And you know, I was campaigning at the time, and I received a text message, and I was like devastated. It's just horrible, man. A horrible tragedy, man, to see a brother like that, his life snuffed out, his daughter's life snuffed out before she even had a chance to do anything in life. So sad, such a tragic story, man. It's just like, you know, that was very disturbing, you know, and I was just like, wow, man, it's like unbelievable. Um, so, you know, I send my condolences again to him and his family, you know, to his family and everything. May the brother rest in peace in paradise. Um, you know, the thing is, like, all these people that I've mentioned, he is still here. The things that they have accomplished is still here. You know, and that's why it's important to think about legacy. That's what each and every one of us need to reflect on. What will be our legacy? What will we pass on to the generations after us? What are we doing right now with our life? Are we fulfilling our purpose on this earth? Are we doing what we were meant to do? Are we following our passion? Are we living our best life? Are we living the fullest life possible? Because none of us are promised tomorrow. And you know, that's what I think about when I think about um, you know, these brothers who've lost their life. And another person that we lost was the brother Ecstasy from Houdini. And I know a lot of people um, may not be familiar. Some, you know, some people are younger. They may not be familiar with Houdini, but that was a major hip hop group back in the 80s. You know, they had songs like Friends. They had songs like One Love and other songs, you know, 5 Minutes of Funk. I mean, they were one of the classic hip hop groups that were out at the time. You know, a lot of those songs, when I hear them, they take me back. And they, you know, it's like I like to reminisce through music. And, you know, that was one of the groups that I love so much. And, you know, I had great respect for. Um, you know, because like I know a lot of people look at them as old school and blah, 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 but you wouldn't have any of these other rap artists if it wasn't for groups like Houdini and Run DMC and, you know, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. You would not have hip hop today if it wasn't for those brothers laying the foundation. So much respect to the brother Ecstasy from Houdini. You know, may the brother rest in peace and power. So yeah, I mean, this has been a difficult year losing these people. You know, losing loved ones to this COVID-19 as well. As I mentioned earlier on, many people have died. Like many of us know people that have been touched by this virus. And I pray and hope that you all stay safe. You know, keep your mask on when you're out in public. Wash your hands as much as possible. Stay inside if you don't have to go out. You know, we need to just realize how sacred our lives are and how fragile our lives are. Um, yeah, so another thing that I wanted to talk about is just police brutality in 2020. I mean, there have been some horrible cases of police brutality in this country, you know, since the beginning of the police. And if we don't do anything about it, it will continue to happen this year as well. Every other month, there's a new victim of police brutality. And last year, the most horrific example of police brutality was the killing of George Floyd. This brother was accused of using counterfeit money, a counterfeit $20 bill. And because of that brother ends up dead. The police arrested him. They pinned him down to the ground. There were at least 3 officers holding him down. And this one officer, as you all know, had his knee in his brother's neck. And this brother cried out that he could not breathe. And that sounds familiar, right? I mean, you all remember Eric Garner, the example of Eric Garner being choked out by New York police live on camera. And to this day, there is no justice for that brother. No charges have been brought against the officer. But you had this situation involving George Floyd where this police officer kept his knee on his brother's neck for over 8 minutes, even though the brother was crying out that he could not breathe. The situation was so horrific that this brother even cried out for his mother. A grown-ass man was reduced to the point where he was crying out for his mother on camera for the whole world to see. And despite those pleas, despite those cries, that police officer kept his knee in that brother's neck, kept his knee in the brother's neck to the point where he passed out. And when the EMS people got there to him, he was non-responsive. The brother was basically dead. The brother died right there. And not only was George Floyd pleading for his life, you had the people that were standing by watching this incident, pleading for that brother's life, telling that officer to get off that brother's neck, telling that officer that he can't breathe. But that officer continued to torture that brother by having his knee on his brother's neck, cutting off his breath and his ability to breathe. So it's a horrible situation. The brother died, and people have been demanding justice. There have been protests all around the country as a result of this. Charges have been filed against all the officers involved in the case. So I hope and pray that there's justice this year in that case. I will continue to follow it. Another case of police brutality is Breonna Taylor's case. And you all have heard me talk about this before. But before I get into Breonna Taylor's case, I just want to point out how you got some of these YouTube personalities, some of these bitter, butthurt women on YouTube, who instead of being genuine advocates for Breonna Taylor, they simply used her as a political football in their gender war against Black men. Some of these women, if you want to call them that, some of these women were justified, basically saying that women shouldn't protest in support of George Floyd, basically saying that Black men don't care nothing about Black women who are victims of police brutality. I mean, and I just think that kind of mentality is part of the reason why our community is not going anywhere. You got this ridiculous, retarded gender war that's going on YouTube when you have Black people being victims of police brutality. Instead of us uniting as one against police brutality, you got many of these people here on YouTube that took that opportunity to further divide Black people, Black men and Black women, when Black men and Black women should be united. And the thing is, while these people use Breonna Taylor as a political football, none of them were advocating for her before the George Floyd thing came up. And none of them advocated for her afterwards. They weren't out there marching for her. They weren't out there speaking for her. They only brought her up so that they could try to take shots at black men and to shake shots at this brother, George Floyd. They were on here attacking this man, George Floyd, doing the bidding of white supremacists. Usually that's something that a Fox News would do. Usually that's something that one of these white racists would do. But nowadays, you don't even have to rely on the white racists to demonize victims of police brutality when you had these bitter, butthurt black women who will gladly do that job for them. So anyway, I digress. Like, I want to get back to the point with Breonna Taylor. You know, here you have a sister who was at home and the police raided her home. You know, they raided her home based on a false affidavit. That's something that has to be emphasized. In that affidavit, it said that the police had talked to a postal inspector, and that the postal inspector told them that this woman was receiving packages from her ex-boy, you know, for her ex-boyfriend, and these packages, you know, were allegedly used in some kind of drug operation. These were packages of drugs or whatever, according to the police. But it turns out that the police didn't talk to any postal inspector. They just made that stuff up. And so they came into her house under false, under a false, affidavit and false, a warrant based on lies. They came into her house. According to many of the witnesses, they did not identify themselves. They didn't, say that they were the police. They had no police uniforms on. They did not knock before they entered the premises, according to the witnesses, according to several witnesses. So here it is, like around midnight, they knock open her door and raid her house. And as I said before, her boyfriend was in the house at the time, and he did what any man should do, and that's defend his woman and defend his house. So he fired upon those police officers. You know, again, police officers who were in plain clothes, police officers who did not identify themselves, police officers who could have been anybody. They could have been robbers. They could have been, rapists. They could have been any kind of criminal invading their home. And that brother did what he thought was necessary to protect his household. So he fired upon these officers. They returned fire and they shot Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was unarmed. She didn't pose any kind of threat to these officers. They took that sister's life. And to this day, no charges have been brought against those officers. You had a grand jury conduct an investigation. You had a situation where you had this old Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus, Sambo prosecutor Daniel Cameron down there presenting their case in such a way that the grand jury didn't even have the option to indict these officers for killing this sister. So because of that, these officers are walking around free today. They're still free and stuff. And that sister is dead. So yeah, that's one case. And then another case, a case of white vigilantism. You know, a case involving the brother Ahmaud Arbery. You know, this brother was jogging. He was jogging in the neighborhood. You know, you had these two white men basically say the same thing or think the same thing that George Zimmerman thought when he saw Trayvon Martin. You know, this brother's up to no good. They claimed that there was some burglaries in the neighborhood, even though when you check the record, there was no rash of burglaries in that neighborhood. There was only a situation where they had something that was stolen from them, but there was no series of robberies or break-ins in the neighborhood. But yet they thought that this brother was responsible for some break-ins in the neighborhood. They thought he was committing a crime. So they followed him in a truck. They followed this brother, they confronted this brother, and they ended up shooting and killing that brother. And on top of that, you had a third person who followed Ahmaud Arbery from behind to block him in and videotaped this horrific killing of his brother. And so those people are on trial. And before that brother died, like after they shot him, like while he was bleeding, while he was dying, they called him a nigger. That's how they treated that brother. And you still have people like that old coon, that Negro bed wench, Candace Owens, talking about this case had nothing to do with racism. How in the hell doesn't it have everything to do with racism when you got a person who shot and killed a black man, and while that black man is dying, they call him a nigger. But yet you have people like this whose job out there is to tap dance, to excuse and to justify and explain away blatant examples of racism. So yeah, that's what we saw. You know, that's the situation. You know, a young brother killed, you know, hunted down, and there is no evidence that that brother committed a crime. Now, people said, well, he went inside of this abandoned home, and he was trying to do something nefarious, or he was trying to burglarize the place. That brother didn't burglarize the place. There's no evidence that he stole anything from that place. Even the owner said that. And also, there are many people that explored that abandoned house that was in the process of that was under construction. Many people explored that house. But those other people, those non-black people that went into that house, they weren't followed. They weren't labeled as criminals. They weren't tracked down and killed and all that kind of stuff. But because this brother has black skin, they view that as some kind of badge of criminality, and they view that as some kind of license to kill. And that's what they did to this brother, shot and killed him. And then you had this prosecutor come up with a 1,000 cockamamie, half-baked excuses to justify not bringing charges against those racists that killed that brother, Ahmaud Arbery. But thank goodness, there's been a new prosecutor appointed. There's been an investigation, and charges have been filed against those men. And another thing that has to be pointed out, as I pointed out in one of my videos, that's this: like, as this brother was dying, as he was suffering in the street, bleeding, those police didn't even view it as some kind of emergency. They didn't give him any kind of emergency medical attention. They actually believed, based on the video, you get the impression that they bought into those killers' excuses for killing this brother. That's what you had. So this is what we've been seeing, like these examples of white vigilantism and police brutality. You had other examples. You had the brother Blake. Let me pull up his information 1 second, y'all. Just bear with me a second. So you had the brother Blake, who was shot, and now he's paralyzed. Let me just make sure I have his full name. Just bear with me a second. Just bear with me 1 second, everyone. Just bear with me. I'll be right back. I just want to pull this information, so I'll have this information right. Yeah, so his name is Jacob Blake. So the brother Jacob Blake was shot and paralyzed. We had the brother Rayshard Brooks shot and killed by the police in Atlanta. And you've had a lot of protests around the country as a result of these things happening, especially the George Floyd situation. You know, you've had a lot of protests. You had a lot of different people participate in these protests. It was also you had the election. The election was a big deal. Um, you know, between excuse me, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And the sad thing is, like I've been pointing out before, you know, first of all, you know, I'm glad that Joe Biden won. And I just want to be perfectly clear. Like many people know, I didn't support Joe Biden during the primaries. People know that I was highly critical of Joe Biden, but he was the lesser of two evils, point blank and period, man. I mean, Joe Biden was a far better choice than Donald Trump. And you all have heard like what I've said about this stuff before. Donald Trump is somebody who openly supported and pandered to white supremacists. This man opposed affirmative action, opposed police reforms. This man actually referred to those white supremacists in Charlottesville, some very fine people. This man is called Africa and Haiti shithole countries and stuff like that. This man was a bigot, a racist, and it's a good thing that he lost the election. You know, I'm glad that he lost. He was incompetent. You know, he did a horrible job addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's a good thing that he is gone, that he will be leaving the White House. And it's just a shame that you have some of these delusional YouTube personalities on here still peddling, you know, these false, ridiculous conspiracy theories about voter fraud and all that kind of stuff. Some of these people are black people, suggesting that other black people participated in voter fraud. You know, black people in places like Philadelphia and Detroit, you know, making suggestions that our people participated in voter fraud without any evidence at all. And this blood. As Cali guys pointing out, you got some of these quote unquote woke people that basically wanted Donald Trump to win. You know, you got people like Afro Coonergy, you know, you got others who, you know, who tried to do it on the low, like they want to support Donald. They wanted Donald Trump to win. And the way that they wanted him to win is by discouraging black people from voting. You got these people like the Tariq Nasheeds and all these other fake pro-black people on here who spend all this time basically discouraging black people from voting. And thank goodness black people did not listen to those personalities. Thank goodness black people came out in droves. Thank goodness that black people actually made a difference in this election and helped, you know, oust Donald Trump. And not only do you have these YouTube personalities supporting Donald Trump, you know, either directly or indirectly, you actually got members of Congress today that are still going to contest the electoral college's results and all that kind of stuff, despite the lack of any kind of evidence of any kind of widespread voter fraud. That just shows you how bankrupt our political system is. And then, on top of this, I talked about how Donald Trump was, found to be the most admired man in America, according to the Gallup poll. And that just, again, speaks to just how racist this society is, how ignorant many in this society are. And it shows us that this problem that we face in this country of white supremacy and racism is not going anywhere. I mean, Donald Trump was supported by millions and millions of people. There are millions of people that still support this man, despite all the stuff I've laid out for you. They support this man. They stand by this man. And they're going to fight for them, for him and what he represents. So it's an uphill battle against racism. It's a protracted struggle against racism that we face in this country. And it's not over just because of any election. We saw that with Barack Obama. When he was elected president, racism didn't magically disappear. We didn't magically enter some post-racial period in American history. So, yeah, that election was huge. And, I'm glad of the results that we have in this election. So that's a great thing, because you had a man in Donald Trump, who told a racist group like the Proud Boys to stand back and to stand by. And that's exactly what they did. They stood back and they stood by. And after the election, they held a demonstration in DC, and they ripped down Black Lives Matter signs and burned them on, lit them on fire. That's what they did. They engaged in acts of violence. There were reports of stabbings and stuff in DC. So they heeded that man's words. So I'm glad that man is no longer going to be president. I'm going to celebrate the day that he leaves the White House. And then, speaking of the election, you had Kanye West, who ran for president. You had Kanye West, who ran for president, and basically he acknowledged that he was doing nothing but helping Donald Trump. I mean, we all know that Kanye West was a fan of Donald Trump. We know that he went to the White House acting like a complete buffoon for Donald Trump, acting like a fan of Donald Trump's, acting like a groupie for Donald Trump, acting like a little coon for Donald Trump. And speaking of cooning, this man basically said, and I'm speaking about Kanye West, he said that, last year, actually, he said that, Harriett Tubman did not free the slaves and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this guy is one of the most uninformed, ignorant people ever, to make such a statement. And this is coming from the same guy that told people that slavery was a choice. So yeah, that's Kanye West. That's the election. We lost another person as well, and that's Herman Cain. Donald Trump, in the middle of this pandemic, was basically suggesting that people don't need to wear masks, that it's something unmanly about wearing a mask, it's weak to run around wearing a mask. And Donald Trump had some rally in Oklahoma. I think it was in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. And you had many people at that rally with no mask on. And one of those people was Herman Cain. And he was there with a whole bunch of these conservatives, at this event. And after that event, Herman Cain got COVID. And then he was sick, and then he passed away. And it's just a shame that some people are so gullible that they will follow a person like Donald Trump off a cliff. And that's what Herman Cain did. So there are a couple of other stories that I want to talk about before I close out and check your comments. The next story that I wanted to talk about is Nick Cannon. You know, we all remember that Nick Cannon had the brother Professor Griff on his program, and they ended up talking about racism. They were talking about Jews and the chosen people and all that kind of stuff. And as a result of that discussion, Nick Cannon came under fire. Nick Cannon was persecuted. Nick Cannon lost some key job opportunities and, work and money behind, some of the comments that he made, or even just behind the fact that he had Professor Griff on his program. He lost his gig with the Masked Singer or whatever. He lost that and some other stuff. And what they ended up doing was twisting his brother's arm. And, he first started off strong, saying that he wasn't going to bow to the pressure and blah, blah, blah. But after a while, he basically came back talking about, yes, sir, boss. I'm sorry, Mr. Charlie. I'm sorry, Mr. Cohen, and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, Mr. Goldberg, and all that kind of stuff. And it ended up tap dancing. He ended up having, meetings with these people and all that kind of stuff to make amends. And it was a sad spectacle. It was sad to see a black man broken down like that. Somebody that came off strong at first and then was completely broken, just like Kunta Kinte was broken by the slave master when that slave master repeatedly hit him with the whip and told him that his name was Toby. And, Nick Cannon ended up just like Kunta Kinte saying his name is Toby. And it was a sad spectacle. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. And another thing is this. I wanted to talk about Jaguar Wright. And as you all know, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Jaguar Wright. Just bear with me a second. Hold on one second. Yeah, shout out to everyone in the chat. I will get to your comments shortly. Yeah, and if I'm missing a story of 2020, please let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to address that as well. But another story that I wanted to talk about is Jaguar Wright. As you all know, she began to rant on social media, like following the death of Malik from the Roots. She was triggered and she started trying to expose all these people. One of the first people that she went off on, was rapper Common. And she basically suggested that he sexually assaulted her. And I'm not going to go into details what she alleges, but she claims that he sexually assaulted her. And many people know Common as like a conscious rapper, like somebody that comes across as if they would never do something like that. But Jaguar Wright tarnished his name by, saying this about him, accusing him of that. She made statements about Talib Kweli, disrespectful statements about him. Made disrespectful statements about Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, and the list goes on and on. Like, I think she even was talking about J-Lo and stuff like that. She outed some people. She outed, she basically said that Diddy was gay. One thing that she said about Diddy is, she said that he told this singer, he actually had this singer, I think his name is Christopher Williams, actually give him oral sex and all that kind of stuff. So she said that, she aired out Mary J. Blige, saying that Mary J. Blige is a lesbian and stuff. So she's been on a warpath. she's been saying a lot of statements about her ex-husband and all that kind of stuff. And from what I understand, this other YouTuber by the name of Tasha K is doing a interview with Jaguar Wright's ex-husband and her son. So I got to check that out. But I'm not going to go into every allegation that she's put out there, but she's gone after the roots. She's criticized the brother Black Thought, and she basically suggested that Black Thought had ghostwriters, or that he took a lot of ideas from Malik B and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, she really goes in on a lot of people. And I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to check out what, people have had to say. Like, I know that Talib Kweli did a response to her. And, most people are just suggesting that she's mentally ill and she's exaggerating and distorting what, things and lying, basically. But yeah, so that's what's going on with Jaguar Wright. I encourage people that are interested in that. I encourage y'all to check out Tasha K's interview that she's going to be doing. Hopefully she didn't already do it. I haven't seen any notifications about that, but usually I don't even watch that kind of I hardly ever watch Tasha K. But this is an issue that I'm really interested in, because Jaguar Wright is talking about a lot of artists that I have great respect for. I have great respect for Talib Kweli and Black Thought. I love Erykah Badu's music, and Jill Scott is one of my favorite singers and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that interview that she does, that Tasha K is going to do about Jaguar Wright. So if you're interested in that, and I encourage you to check out her station. And another issue that we have to talk about is Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. That was a huge story this year, where she admitted that she had an affair with August Alsina. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing his last name, but she admitted that she had an affair with him. And basically she was trying to dance around it by not even using the word affair, she said, or she even used the word relationship. Instead of using that word relationship or affair, she said entanglement. And the internet just was on fire. They were clowning her. And Will Smith has become like a popular meme on social media now, like that image of him crying, doing that whole thing, or looking very sad. I mean, it's just a huge spectacle. And it's just like, when I watched that whole thing, I just thought about how cold-hearted, how narcissistic, how just bitch-like, for lack of a better word, Jada Pinkett is, the way she comes across. It's like, I don't know why somebody like a Will Smith would put up with somebody like that, man. I mean, somebody like him can have any woman in the world. But yeah, he settles for her and he puts up with her nonsense. And I know it's more to the story than what we saw. Because there have been reports of them being swingers, or having an open marriage and all that kind of stuff. I don't know nothing about that, but I just know that wasn't a good look for Will Smith, to have this woman like talking about having an affair with this other guy, with like, in such cold ways, like talking about it like it was nothing, like it didn't, like his feelings didn't matter and stuff like that. Like he didn't matter. And it's just, and not only was she disrespectful towards Will Smith, she was disrespectful to August. You know what I'm saying? Like, disrespectful. And like, August, he did an interview where he was suggesting that he was all in love with her and it was romance and stuff like that. And she didn't show him that same kind of courtesy when she talked about what they had. So yeah, those are some of the stories that I wanted to highlight. So I'm going to go through your comments to see what you all are mentioning. So shout out to Bonafide. So Bonafide said that it looks like Jaguar Wright is just looking for notoriety. And then he also said either that or she's paranoid, schizophrenic, and needs help. I don't think she's looking for notoriety because I think if that was the case, like she would have done this a long time ago. Like she had been quiet for many years. So I don't know if this is about notoriety. And it just seems like she doesn't come across as somebody that's so interested in being seen and heard and stuff like that. I don't think that that's what it's about. Now it may be a mental issue. I can't really speak on that. I'm not going to characterize it yet. I need more evidence. Yeah, that's a great point, Def Rocker. The Karen, the whole thing with so-called Karens is a very important issue that we've seen. Like the biggest example of that, and there have been others. Like you have people like. And basically, for those of you who are just tuning in and you never heard the term Karen, that's just, a term for these white women who call the police on black people or complain about things or put their nose in stuff that shouldn't be any of their business. So if you had, for instance, so-called Karens calling the police on people having a barbecue, you had the situation where this woman called the police because this brother told her that she should not have her dog in a certain area of Central Park in New York City because it said like you're supposed to have your dogs on a leash and they're not supposed to be in certain areas. Like this dog was in the area where there was some plants or whatever, and the dog was, just not. She wasn't taking care of the dog and had a dog unleashed in the area where the dog shouldn't have been. So the brother raised the issue, and then this woman said she was calling the police on him. And this woman proceeded to call the police and tell the police a lie, tell the police that this brother was threatening her and all that kind of stuff. And that's not a joke. That's something that's very serious because we know what happens when people call the police. Too often, black people end up dead when somebody calls the police, especially if you have a white woman claiming that a black man did something to them. And we know about the history of white women lying on black men and boys, lying on black men and boys. And as a result of those lies, black men and boys get lynched, like Emmett Till, a brother beaten beyond recognition and body thrown in a river. You've had many towns burned to the ground based on lies coming from white women's mouths. So that's a very serious issue, especially in this environment when so many black people, as I mentioned before, have been killed and brutalized by police. But yet this woman wants to call the police on her brother for basically asking that she comply with the law and regulations in the park. So yeah, that's a very serious situation, a very serious issue. And you had an issue recently involving another Karen who got into a situation with a famous person's black son and grabbed his son and all that kind of stuff. And you had Ben Crump and them asking that charges be pressed against that woman. And I think that that's something that needs to happen. I think that what we need to do is have laws in place so that these people that make these false reports against black people, that they face some kind of charges for doing so. Because by putting out those false charges, they are literally risking black people's lives. So thanks for raising that issue, Def Rocker. Yeah, and then you also Anthony mentioned Grandmaster Jay and the Not Fucking Around Coalition. That's been a big story. Like that's one of the a black militia group, and it's not the only black militia group, but it's a black militia group that has staged several protests around the country They've staged protests rather, in support of Breonna Taylor, in support of her case. And, right now the leader is facing charges. The brother Grandmaster Jay is facing some charges. So, I'm going to continue to follow that case. And, as I said in my video on that subject, what is happening to Grandmaster Jay is just a continuation of COINTELPRO. What they did under COINTELPRO is assassinate Black leaders, lock up Black leaders, discredit Black leaders. And that's what we see with this brother Grandmaster Jay. He's being discredited, and now he's facing some trumped up charges. And for those of you who haven't seen my video, when I get a chance, I'll post a link in either the cards or the description box so that you can check out that video where I go into more detail. But I just wanted to give you all that basic information about the case. So shout out to Def Rocker, shout out to Bonafide 1970, shout out to Anthony, shout out to, again, Ghost Rider. Let's see. Yeah, so Bonafide made a great point about elections. Like, a lot of people think, are ignorant. They don't understand that voting is not just about the president, because you have elected officials on all different levels. In a lot of places you vote for judges that sit on courts. You vote for your prosecutor, your district attorney. You vote for your mayor and your city council. You vote for your state representatives and state senators. All these people enact policies that directly impact our lives. And that's why voting is so crucial and is so very important. Again, I want to shout out Cali Guy for donating to the channel. I encourage you all to donate to the channel, to support the channel. You can, either hit the super chat, or you can hit me on Cash App at Anson Asaka, $ Anson Asaka. And that's my name for those of you who don't know, ANSONASAKA. Because the channel needs support. It takes time and resources to produce these videos. So I appreciate and thank each and every one of you for the support that you provide just by watching alone and just by liking the videos and sharing the videos. But if you're able to, I would appreciate your support, your financial support as well. Yeah, so I mentioned that some of these so-called woke people wanted Donald Trump to win, basically. And we're helping him out. Yeah, thanks, T-Boy. Yeah, I figured it out. It was Jacob Blake. It's hard for me to actually talk and watch all the comments as they come through. But I appreciate you leaving that comment. Shout out to the SectorCon 2021. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Fredro Miller. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Just bear with me. I'm just scrolling through your comments. Oh, yeah. Cali Guy mentioned the brother from Breaking, Yaba Do from Breaking. I watched Breaking back in the day, but I wasn't very familiar with that brother I didn't know much about his history, but may the brother rest in peace. And, may people continue to honor his legacy in hip hop culture. As many of you know, like this hip hop culture has many different branches from it. So you have, the DJing, you have the graffiti artists, you have the dancers, the break dancers and stuff. And that's what that brother was. He was one of the dancers, one of the famous break dancers and stuff. So he was very instrumental in early hip hop culture. Much respect to the brother. May he rest in peace. And, I send my condolences to his family as well. I'm just scrolling through your comments. Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Elaine Lloyd. Like Elaine Lloyd also mentioned another aspect of Black Panther that's very important, and that's the fact that it's one of the few films that elevated dark-skinned Black women, where the dark-skinned Black woman was the love interest in the film. The dark-skinned Black woman, was not only feminine, but was also strong and powerful in this film. Also very intelligent. Like, Black Panther's sister was a scientist, and she created all these devices and gadgets that the Black Panther used. She helped create his uniform and stuff to, give him, certain abilities with the uniform. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that cannot be denied. That's something that should not be downplayed, just the way that film elevated dark-skinned Black women. Often in these films with Black women in them, anytime the Black woman is a love interest or is the main person in a film, often she's the very light-skinned, very light-skinned Black women, racially ambiguous type of women and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, salute that film for that, promoting the positive image of Black women. And that's another thing, like as Elaine is pointing out, like this brother did all these films while he was sick. I mean, he had a impeccable work ethic. Some people, you can't even get them to work when they are healthy and strong and stuff like this. But here you had this brother who, while he was going through this suffering with this illness, this brother continued to work, continued to strive and grind and stuff like that, and continued to build upon his legacy. Again, like these people are examples of just how important time is. And, just examples of what we need to do with our time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Def Rocker pointed out that, oh, yeah. He said the brother's name is Shabba-Doo, not Yabba, not Yabba. Yeah, I think, yeah, thanks for that correction, but that's what somebody had wrote. So, oh yeah, another story, the Def Rocker mentioned was Eminem dissing Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I mean, and that's going to bring me to another story as well that happened this year dealing with Eminem. But before I get to that story, I'll talk about this. Yeah, so a while back, Snoop Dogg was asked about his top 10 or top 5 or whatever, top 5 MCs. And he mentioned all these people, and he said that Eminem wasn't in his top 5. And apparently Eminem was all butthurt and, had his panties in a bunch about that and decided to put out a diss song and stuff like that, dissing Snoop Dogg. I mean, first of all, Snoop doesn't have to put you in his top 10 or top 5 or whatever. It's his choice. Like everybody has their own preferences, and he has every right to have his own opinion. So, I mean, I just think that it's ridiculous. And then you got all these Eminem stans that be on Eminem's nuts no matter what he says or does. And a prime example of an Eminem stan is Royce da 5'9". And Royce da 5'9" is somebody that I respect as an MC you know, I respect some of his commentary, but when I see him cooning for Eminem, that's like when I have my last straw. Like, you know, that's when I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, why are you playing the house Negro role? Why are you playing the butler role or the servant role for Eminem? Eminem is a grown ass man. He can defend himself, um, obviously. So why are you out here being his doja? You know, his crash dummy, going after your own black brothers and sisters to defend this guy Eminem. And I know Eminem has done a lot to help his career and everything like that. But come on, man, this is ridiculous. The extent to which he goes cooning and tap dancing for Eminem. I mean, it's just sad and despicable. So what happened was, you know, you had Benzito and Eminem get back into it, you know, into some beef. Like years ago, they had beef, but apparently something happened to spark that back up. Instead of letting Eminem handle his own affairs, you got this guy, Royce the 5'9", jumping into the situation, um, you know, going after Benzino. And it's just like an attack dog. Like he's an attack dog for Eminem. You know, Eminem just throws him some dog biscuits and he goes attacking people and stuff, attacking other black people for this white boy. And I just think that it's a bad look, man. It's a bad look. And, you know, as far as Snoop Dogg, like, you know, the people that he mentioned that are better than Eminem, I agree. Like they are. He mentioned like a lot of artists from the 80s are like better than Eminem, basically. I mean, he didn't use quite those words, but he was just saying that they are in his top 10 or top 5 that Eminem isn't. And it's a lot of examples of people like that, like a KRS-One, like a Rakim. You know, like, you know, even somebody like the brother Coogee Rap or something like that. They are elite MCs, and I can easily understand why somebody would have them in their top 5 or top 10 and not have an Eminem in there. I mean, many times Eminem's stuff is not relatable to the average black person. I mean, this guy raps about, you know, some silly stuff. Like his raps were really entertaining when he first came out, but it's completely played out now. Shout out to O'Shea. Thanks for your donation. Yeah, it's been a minute. Thanks for your shout out. So let me share this with people. I don't think I can share it, but yeah, that's what's up. Thanks for your donation, O'Shea. It's been a while since I, you know, been in touch with you and been on your program. But shout out to you. Thanks for your donation. I appreciate it. Oh, there it is. It came up. And also, I got to shout out Cali Guy again. I appreciate your donation as well. Much respect to you. Let me just go to Cali Guy real quick. Yeah, I can't seem to find it, but shout out to Cali Guy. Thanks for donating. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. But this is just my quick, you know, little summary of 2020. And, you know, I hope that in a lot of those cases that I mentioned, I hope that we will have justice for those cases in 2021 this year. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. If there was any story that I missed from 2020, please leave a comment in the description. Well, not in the description, in the comment section, and just let me know what I forgot, what subject did I forget, and let us know why that subject was important. So again, you know, before I close out, I want to remind you all to follow my art page on Instagram, the Osaka Gallery, and I will type it out here in the chat so that you all can see that information. It's the Osaka Gallery. I encourage you to visit that. And again, I have those 2 pieces that are for sale, the painting of the brother Malcolm X and a painting of the brother James Baldwin. So yeah, if you're interested in those, please email me at newpossibilitiesblog@yahoo.com. Also, if there is some kind of commission piece that you would like to me to do, also email me at that same email address, and I will be happy to consider that as well. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. And again, I want to remind people, spread the word, encourage your friends to subscribe to this channel. If they like independent Black media, if they like strong, bold commentary dealing with the plight of our people, they need to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build this channel up, to get to 10,000 subscribers, and I need your support to make that happen. So with that, peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Have a blessed and happy new year.